Hi, it's December 17th, 2019, Mary Conley. I've got speculation on the Wildwood Inn. Since everybody else puts in their speculation, here's my speculation. I think it may have been 3 stories or maybe 2 stories. There was a parking garage below, then what we'd call a meeting area with restaurants and a fireplace. That might be the ground level. The parking garage would be below that. And then if the elevator went directly to the parking garage, then you have the communal area, and then maybe second, maybe third floor. I don't know. Maybe there's 3 floors. I don't know. We know that Bundy stole a tuxedo once. We know that he took a coat from Yankee Peddler, high-end coat. We know he took skiing clothes. He also took a makeup course at Temple University. The easiest thing for him to do would have been to have been in the far end of the hall and have taken the Otis elevator jacket or a maintenance man's jacket or clothes from a closet, and even the toolbox somewhere downstairs, probably near the elevator. He didn't have money for rooms and stuff. All he had to do was go to that second floor, be down towards the end, or maybe even the stairwell looking out the glass. The other people go and disperse, and she's walking down the hall. And he says something like, "Miss, the elevator's acting up. It's so bitterly cold as the doors are not shutting right. Can I get you to do me a favor and hold the button or step inside and hold the button? I just want to see how the doors are functioning on the elevator." And she'd say, "Oh, yes, I'll help you." He's not bad looking. He's wearing a maintenance man uniform, probably has a little ball cap on. He's got the toolbox he's holding to his side. He's put the whole 9 yards on. Where he picked it up, I don't know. They have a specific outfit for Otis elevator operators. The elevator can be manipulated. Doors can be held open. You can bypass floors. All you do, you turn the fire thing on. There's ways to manipulate the elevator. So I'm thinking she steps in to hold it open for him for a moment so he can, and he's looking in he's looking in like he's looking at electric or something inside and below and stuff, and he walks around like that for a second. Then he takes his toolbox, which maybe has a really heavy-duty wrench. He clacks her on the head. He makes sure the floor doesn't stop on that ground level floor, and he goes directly to the parking garage. And yes, it's a big chance, but it was a bitterly cold night. He goes directly to the parking garage. Maybe his car is 3 or 4 cars over. All he has to do is lift her up and walk between the columns and some other cars. Somebody were walking around. He heard noises. He simply scooted down between 2 cars. He puts her in the passenger seat, which has been removed. He may have even known where there was a vacant house, cabin, or a storage room where he does what his nasty stuff that he does. He may have had a plastic bag in the toolbox to make sure her head didn't bleed all over the elevator. So he puts on the Otis elevator operator. He can manipulate the elevator 3 or 4 different ways. Even a civilian can manipulate it 3 or 4 different ways to make sure no other passengers get on at that communal area, or that it goes up instead of down. He goes directly down to the parking garage. She says, "Oh, sure, I'll hold the door for you." All she has to do, he says, "Ma'am, could you help me for a moment? Elevator's been acting up. It's so bitterly cold. The doors are sticking. Let me see if I can figure out if there's a short or something. Could you possibly step in and hold the button for a moment?" And when she steps in there, he clacks her on the head, takes her directly down to the parking garage. His only chance of being seen is that little exit right there. I don't know how the parking garage was set up. It's bitterly cold outside. People aren't going to be milling around in the cold when they can be inside eating or reading or sitting or bathing or getting ready for the next day. Yes, it is a chance, but if there's a truck or a column or something, all he has to do is maybe 15 feet and just scoot himself down if somebody was walking by. I think this is a very viable thing. People say, well, he did this and it has to be this way. Another thing that I think is, going back to some of the earlier killings, perhaps a professor in Missoula, Montana that was only 95 pounds. There's also a woman that was killed back in the day somewhere in that Northwest who looks exactly like his mother. And I know these were early on killings, but I believe it could be him. And the reason being, I believe he would have took Carol DeRoche's car. That's why he wanted her to open the door. He said, I can drive that Camaro for a few hours. In other words, there may have been times that he didn't use his Volkswagen. He left his Volkswagen parked in a parking lot and used a victim's car and took him somewhere. I mean, we don't know that. I mean, and you'd say, well, he did the police officer, he did the injuries. He may have had a dozen different things that he used. What I'm saying is I think he may have used the victim's car sometimes, and then after he did what he did, he simply drove back and left their car where it was parked and just got in his and took off. The professor from Missoula, Montana, she fits some of the criteria because she's on a campus. She's 95 pounds. That was something they never mentioned. Most of the women were petite. A man could easily pick up 95 pounds. 95 to 110 pounds is all these little girls weigh. They didn't weigh very much at all. So I'm saying there's probably a lot more ruses and decoys that he used other than, what people were thinking. I don't know. But I believe an elevator back then, you just take command of the elevator. It's almost like driving an elevator. And he could have been in the stairwell looking out. Once he knew all the people were going and she's walking her way down to the hallway, putting the card in or a key or whatever they used, he came out and he's completely dressed like a maintenance man. He's got a toolkit. He says, I got problems tonight. The elevator door keeps sticking, and we've had problems with it going a little bit too low. I was wondering, ma'am, could you help me just for a moment and hold the door open for a second, And then he clacks her and takes her on down. Mary's musings. But the reason I do that, I guess because I had a criminal justice degree and also with an examiner with the Internal Revenue Service. So I look, and I think, and I try to think outside the box. It's one thing that I am good at. My IQ runs between 135 and 142. And one of the things that I'm good at is seeing similarities between apparently dissimilar things. So, and then that Mr. Stephen McCowd, said he didn't want to get in the mind. But one thing you have to do is actually get into the mind of what these people were doing so you can figure out why and where, what they did. There probably were more bodies on Taylor Mountain than they could find, but you can't find people that easily. Even, you might have 100 people going up 100 yards and just 5 feet outside of the perimeter is where the other body is or something, or maybe across the street or something. All right. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.